European beauty standards. When I was a child, I never thought I was pretty like my white friends. It was only when I was in my early 20s I realized that this wasn't the case. I guess the point of this post is to ask anyone who felt the same, what age and how did you realize that you weren't unattractive? You were just living in a society which hates black women. Yes. So much yes. I was always told by adults, you are so pretty. You'll see when you are older. Meanwhile, always picked last and avoided like the plague by boys my age. It's hard enough to have to be assigned a partner, much less watch my partner experience shame and get teased for being paired with me. The truth was that I was the only black person in these spaces. It had nothing to do with my worth, beauty, or desirability. It had everything to do with them and the bullshit. Exhausting. Quick edit to add, I don't think this really clicked with me until I was in my early 30s and began listening to other black women's experiences. OMG, this was me. I went to a middle school where the population was too black. All the black kids were literally known by name. I was often the only black person in my class. I was the only black at tennis camp. I was regularly singled out. I didn't look like them. I wasn't shaped like them. No boy ever approached me, and so on. I really thought something was wrong with me. Around college, high school I think. I suddenly got a bunch of "you're so pretty," and started realizing a lot of people I found pretty weren't all that. Sometimes I still feel like I'm ugly, but that feeling comes and goes. I'm not mixed, but I also grew up in a predominantly white area and I relaxed my hair for years and was so sad my eyes weren't lighter. I even wished for contacts as a kid, but I had 20/20 vision. I regret that now because my eyesight has gotten worse over time and turns out I can't do contacts lol. I stopped relaxing my hair a year ago and cut off my relaxed ends about 6 months ago and love my curly hair. I don't even know how straight hair became the standard. Curls are so beautiful. I was never romantically involved with anyone until college. In high school I was repeatedly called a man, whore, burnt toast, and my white friends were all dating around, and I always thought it was BC I was too ugly. My friends and people around me said I was pretty, but IDK they were just being nice. After a few failed relationships until almost 30, I know I have beautiful skin and everything, but I still see my lighter skin friends date around and I'm dating like one guy a year and it comes up in my mind sometimes. Around 25 or 26 to be honest. I still have white, obviously, people call me ugly, even when I didn't ask, and I think they're genuinely unable to see past their own desire for narrow noses and no curves. You have white people call you ugly. To your face. The audacity. Well, they don't see the words, you are ugly, but will make underhanded remarks that strongly imply it, but yes. The audacity. I wonder if they have a subconscious jealousy or something. But realistically I think they just think they're the most beautiful race. So you're not alone. Boys ran from me like the plague. Everyone I ever showed interest in said, you're nice but I'm not attracted to you, and then go date exclusively white, Asian, Latina women. Even other black guys. It was heartbreaking to get rejected over and over again. Until my current relationship, I felt like everyone wanted me for a booty call or didn't want me at all. I know I'm not ugly, I'm pretty cute. But short natural hair and dark skin mean you're invisible to some men. And I could tell it was my hair because shallow men would come crawling out of the woodwork the moment I donned a weave, wig, or braids. If something happened in my current relationship, I don't think I'd have the strength to enter the modern dating scene ever again. Yep, I know exactly what you mean. I've had this experience also. They don't say it to my face, but for example, my white female friends will generously compliment each other when we go out and literally not pay me a compliment. Once I kind of said jokingly, y'all not going to tell me I look nice too? And one of them, the room went oddly silent and things got weird before one of them complimented me, obviously only because I asked. I had a white guy straight up tell me that he only finds white women beautiful, but he wishes they weren't stuck up. He said he likes my personality but he is not attracted to me physically, so it sucks. Yeah, like I asked or wanted his 5'7" ass anyway. Yikes, sorry not sorry for that diss. I never saw myself represented on TV. If there was a black girl, she was fair-skinned with light eyes and long hair. I felt that white PPL and black people found me unattractive. I married my first serious boyfriend and he was abusive. Thankful, I'm divorced now, but I have hard time accepting that I'm now attractive. I was the token black person at a school with mostly white and Arab students, and I constantly heard my male classmates talk about how they thought black girls were ugly and repulsive and that they'd never be caught dead dating one, while they constantly put the white girls on a pedestal. I also had really bad acne and hair that looked frizzy and unkempt no matter what I did with it, so that just made me feel even worse about my appearance. It wasn't until I went to college out of state that guys started to compliment me on my appearance, and I realized that the girls they deemed attractive were average looking and were hyped up because of white beauty standards. However, the comments destroyed my self-esteem, and it's still hard for me to truly believe that I'm actually beautiful, even though I know that I shouldn't let others' opinions dictate my thoughts about my appearance. I didn't start realizing until I was 19 or 20, but didn't start practicing radical black self-love until I was 22 to 25. I like this. It's a shame it has to be radical for us though. I don't have much confidence wearing my natural fro out. I did it the other day to go grocery shopping and I felt pretty radical, lol. I am in my 50s. So, this was basically my childhood. All of the princesses were white with blonde hair. I actually cried when I saw the first black Disney princess. It wasn't until I was in my 20s that I figured out that I was actually beautiful. When I was younger, I still had moments of self-doubt. However, the older I get, the more educated, and the more money I make, the more awesome I feel. These long locks that hang down my back make me feel powerful in my place of business. Locks and natural hair weren't considered professional until recently. Our skin, our natural hair, our lips, our hips, all of that is beautiful. I am blacker than ever and prouder than ever. I'm glad to see us represented everywhere. I'll be honest, I'm in my late 20s now and I still don't think I'm pretty, just an ugly rock troll, and I still hate my hair. But I'm going to therapy. Same. I had the same experience. As a kid, I had to come to terms with that fact that I was just straight up ugly. My hair was gross and puffy and frizzy, my skin just looked dirty, and my nose and lips were too big. There was nothing that could be done about it, and I felt a huge amount of shame, but I knew the solution was to learn to like myself despite being an ugly little fuck. Then I went to college. I got whiplash by the speed of the turnaround. Suddenly people were telling me how pretty I was all the time. For the first year I assumed they were just teasing me. Once I realized they were serious, it took me a while to figure out how in the world I could possibly be pretty. I looked largely the same as I always had. Then I did a summer research program in a big city. I was interacting with black people regularly for the first time in my life. At that point I began to connect the dots, and I realized I had internalized the racism of my all-white town, and I was actually a very pretty girl. My world was shaken because I now didn't know what other lies I had taken to be as true. As I got older and moved to another big city with a lot of black folks, my confidence grew and grew. Each feature I hated about myself as a kid was actually quite attractive to most people, not even black people, just generally people. I had always thought my butt was too big. I grew up in the 90s, but now big butts are really in. I had always thought my eyebrows were too thick, but now that in style too. Natural hair, tomboyish clothes, even my mixedness, everything that I thought made me ugly suddenly made me beautiful and stylish. I now find it all very funny how the world is so fickle. If I have a daughter, I'm going to teach her that the world will catch up with her beauty. That they may say she's ugly because she's ahead of their white supremacist tastes, and it's not her job to conform to the standards, it's her job to set her own. I will show her what black beauty looks like and keep her drowning in images of diverse women with contrasting features and styles, so she can see just how much room there is for her specific kind of beauty in the world. I didn't realize I was gorgeous for a long time. Not only because of Eurocentric standards, but because my parents were hypocritical of me. I was so insecure and felt so ugly for years. May I ask a question on your question? As someone who grew up in a predominantly black country, it's a little different for me. My add-on question is, did you feel differently about your own beauty after having traveled to a predominantly black place? I went to university in Alabama after growing up in the Caribbean, but didn't face much explicit bias, luckily. But I was also one of 5 girls in my whole department, so I think anyone interested was just like, look. Options. I'm very aware that European beauty standards plague the earth, just curious as to how black people feel after going from being a minority to a majority when aesthetics come into play. My mother grew up in the Caribbean as well, where she was part of the ethnic majority. She moved to the States when she was in her late 20s. She told me that back home she never felt ugly or insecure in her race, since everyone pretty much looked like her. But when she moved to the States, she said she started to feel insecure and started paying attention to her looks. Adult men started flirting and staring at me by around 11 years old. I never felt ugly, I've always felt the hypersexual side of our stereotypes more. My city was 1% black, and all the little white kids loved the rap videos of the early 2000s. As a little caramel-colored girl, I think some men saw me like those girls in the videos. Edit, on second thought, I felt hideous for years in my childhood compared to the other kids. I was chubby, with braids and a butt that stuck out. I hated myself, but then once men started paying attention to me, I realized that I didn't love the attention. I've always felt like men feel entitled to my body, even from a young age. So while I didn't feel ugly, ignored, I often felt overexposed compared to white girls who all blended easily. Like white girls wore mini skirts every day, but I wore them and my teachers constantly sent me to the office for breaking the dress code, which would then lead to Saturday school. My brown skin showing seemed somehow provocative. I grew up in Chicago, in the 80s and 90s. It never occurred to me to compare myself to white women. I do remember being sad that I was so skinny and boob-less and butt-less. So it isn't that there were no body image issues. I just never felt driven by Euro standards. I was like 28 before I ever felt an actual attraction to a white dude. Never dated out though, and it isn't until this current generation in our family that people have seriously dated, married out. All of my brothers, uncles, cousins my age are black relationships. My college-aged daughter has expressed the same sentiments. And she was raised in a predominantly white area. Where we differ is, I don't think either of my kids have ever dated black people. Sad face. Once DD got to college, I asked once, and she said the black dudes aren't interested, they only date white girls. Sigh. ETA, I realized I went on a tangent, but I think that it's all related. Yep, I didn't realize it until I moved abroad. I lived in South Korea for 2 years, and anytime anyone complimented me, it was on my face shape and facial features, and I'd never gotten that before. If anyone ever commented on my facial features in the US, it was almost always insulting but never a compliment. I also spent so much time isolated compared to constantly being around a variety of people back home, that I really learned so much about myself and looked at myself a little more. Selfie culture is big there too, so I really just started to see myself in a different light. I was 24 when I first got there. I've since moved back to the US and I'm 28 now. I really wish I'd learned to find myself attractive sooner, but it's better late than never. I didn't like my hair when I was kid. Thought my hair looked like a drug addict. Edit, I also saw my friends who had long straight hair, so I thought maybe I would get it too when I was older after puberty, because I also saw black women with long straight hair. I owe a lot to Jodie Watley. She was pretty and dark. Seeing her beauty be acknowledged made me feel like I could grow up to be beautiful too. When I got older and I got dolled up for prom, I realized that I was pretty too. The transition happened when I was 12, and let me explain what I mean. Before that age, I was surrounded by the most beautiful Liberian goddesses. And knew I was lit. Then my mother and I moved to the United States. And that's when black Americans started pointing out how dark I am. And I'm not even that dark. I started noticing how black men would jump over themselves for light-skinned women and pass me over. This is my truth. I never believed the bullshit and just did my own thing. I don't know where my self-esteem would be if I didn't already know black women are lit. If I had let these people define beauty for me. I don't like to think about my own beauty. It's too personal, and I'm too afraid to judge myself either too harshly, or too forgivingly. But I've seen many black women, beautiful, tie themselves up in knots to be considered beautiful by white women. Their actual beauty mattered far less than being welcomed and accepted as one of the beautiful ones by white women. It hurt me to see them devalue themselves that way. We should be able to be and feel beautiful on our own terms. We do not need white girls to nod with approval before we're allowed to feel beautiful. Yep, for me when I turned 18 and started university and met people not from my predominantly white high school. Slowly throughout my teen life, thank you high school and home life, then finally just last year. It wasn't so much a rude awakening as it was just, oh, so that's the reason. Honestly wish it was something else. This feels like a fucking fantasy curse. Got a lot of white friends, so it helped speed up the process. Honesty, I find myself very attractive. I like the way I look, so I tend to act really confident at times, and I'll admit I have a bit of a dramatic valley girl personality at times. However, it sucks because the world doesn't see my beauty. I don't really get complimented for my beauty, and everyone always asks me why I act so white, and I've had guys openly tell me that I shouldn't act the way I act because I'm not pretty, I'm not white, I don't have options, ugh. It's like my looks don't match my personality to the world. And it sucks. I love the way I look and I have fun with who I am. The world isn't ready for us. Didn't realize till my early 20s, so just now I'm 23. There's a lot that goes into it and how it influences. I was watching reruns of old tween sitcoms and there were never any black women in it. Like Big Time Rush, they spent so many episodes looking to date and not once did they date a black girl, not a single time. It's shit like that, that unconsciously affects how we feel and how desirable we think we are, and it's fucking everywhere. Hello, if you have made it to the end of the video, make sure to click the subscribe button below. You can also check some of my previous videos. Wait, just wait, comment and like too. I am Pink Balloon and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.